Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 313 of Meet the Farmers. I'm your host, Ben Eagle. Now, it's a very special episode today. It might be a difficult one, listeners, but it will also hopefully be very inspiring. I've asked Michael Kavanagh to come back on the show. Michael was last on the podcast in December 2023. I didn't think it was that long ago, but time has flown. Please go back to episode 223 to listen to that. If you haven't already, in that we cover a lot of Michael's farming story. But since then, life has changed completely for him and his family, as we will learn today. Michael is an arable farm manager in Oxfordshire. He was previously farming at the time of our last recording in Shropshire and Staffordshire. He's also a founding member and director of the Green Farm Collective. And he has an accolade. This is just showing you quite how good a farmer he is. He was runner-up in the Soil Farmer of the Year 2020. He was winner of the Climate Change Champions Competition 2022. He was a finalist in the 2022 Farmers Weekly Awards Farm Manager of the Year category. He was also an Oxford Farming Conference Inspire delegate with me in 2024 and an OFC Inspiring Innovator in 2025. A list of accolades there. So earlier this year, back in January, Michael and his wife Di found that their daughter Eleanor had died in her sleep at their home in Shropshire. And there was a postmortem 12 weeks later, and that showed that she had viral pneumonia. And I'm just going to read a section of an article which was put on the Farming Community Network website. They published this, which describes what happened. On Sunday, the 26th of January, Eleanor and her big sister Fiona went to bed like any other night. Michael and Di played, read stories, tucked them in, and sang a lullaby. They both went to sleep happy and loved. The following morning, Monday the 27th of January, Di went into the girls' room to discover the unthinkable had happened. Eleanor had passed away in her sleep. Having had no signs of a worrying illness and the brightest, happiest, healthiest little girl, they had absolutely no warning there was anything to be concerned about. The post-mortem would come back some 12 weeks later, showing she had viral pneumonia. What followed was the most brutal period of their lives imaginable. In Eleanor's eulogy, Michael pledged to her that he would one day be reunited with her and bring her tales of a life well lived. Both Michael and Di set themselves this year really incredible and inspiring challenges to complete in memory of Eleanor. Di has already completed hers, cycling 330 miles from London to Paris in, dare I say it, very challenging conditions back in September. She was amazing with that. Michael has set himself the challenge of running from their home in Oxfordshire now to Eleanor's grave, 80 miles away in Shropshire. So that's 3 marathons back to back in 24 hours. I can see Michael smiling there at the thought. He starts that on the 25th of October, so not long to go now. They are raising funds for a number of charities, and I'd really urge you listeners to support them in this. The charities are the Farming Community Network. They're also supporting To Wish, the Parochial Church Council of the parish of, I'm going to get this wrong, how I say this, Boningale, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Child Bereavement UK and the Midlands Air Ambulance. And I'll ask Michael today what the reasonings are behind all of those. I've also put a link to their Give Wheel page in the show notes. At the time of recording this, they've raised over £28,000 plus 6,000 in gift aid. But it would be fantastic, listeners, to boost that number further. So if you can give, whatever you can give, I really urge you towards that page. And I will continue to plug that page throughout this interview. I'm immensely grateful to Michael for coming on the show again to tell us about the challenge, but also about his experience over the past 10 months and critically about Eleanor as well. Michael, welcome back to Meet the Farmers.
Thank you very much, Ben. And thanks for the intro as well.
Well, I wanted to cover everything in that way, but mostly this is over to you today, and I really want to. I really appreciate you coming on to tell us in your own words your experience over the last year. Before we want to talk about Eleanor, and I really want to hear about Eleanor. Just tell us a little bit about because you have made a move this year as well. You've moved to Oxfordshire. Tell us a bit about your farming life in Oxfordshire and the move that you've made this year.
Yeah, sure. So having done just over 10 years in Shropshire, there was the sort of threat of a lot of the farm being developed into houses. And so that led me to put my ear to the ground to look for a new job, a new challenge. 10 years in one place, I'd learned an awful lot, and it was, in many ways, good time for a career step, I suppose. And so this opportunity in Oxfordshire came up, and really the brief from the owners of the farm was to create. It's a new business, and they want to create the model Cotswold regenerative farm, essentially. So for me, it was an opportunity to start something from scratch. So basically, the owners of this farm had bought 3 farms, all within a ring fence, all within 9 months of each other.
Wow.
Which is, an unbelievable set of circumstances to start with, and therefore decided, okay, we better have a go at farming this now. So there's just over 2,000 acres, predominantly arable ground, Cotswold brash. But when I turned up, there was nothing. There wasn't a spade, a nutter bolt, a tractor, any staff or anything. It's a completely blank canvas. So
incredible.
From my point of view, a really, really, really exciting opportunity. And if I'm being honest, I'd always held a bit of a torch for the Cotswolds as well. Lovely, lovely part of the country.
It is a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, and so this this opportunity, well, I suppose the interview process started October last year, and sort of led to me handing my notice in and committing to the move just before Christmas. I can actually remember being in London for an event and walking outside Embankment Station, and the thought went through my mind as to, why am I so lucky? Everything in my life was just, going absolutely brilliantly. I got a really exciting new job in the Cotswolds to move to. I'd never experienced grief. I vividly remember having these thoughts, which is slightly weird now. My parents were alive, and I had that thought of, why am I so lucky? Life is good. So yeah, having handed my notice in before Christmas in Shropshire, we then moved to the Cotswolds. Our move was planned for the end of March, basically, to start down here at the end of March.
So in the context, if we go back to January, you were very much in that mindset of about to move, shifting your life, shifting where you're working, shifting where you're living, moving the family. So take us back to the beginning of the year, to January, and if you can share in whatever way you feel comfortable, what happened and how those first few weeks after Eleanor's death unfolded.
Yeah, sure. So, obviously the prospect of the move was a massive upheaval away from everything we knew, friends and all the rest of it, and further away from family. And January, it was exciting but daunting, and we were relishing the challenge, I think it's fair to say. And family life was great. On Sunday, the 26th of January, we'd had a birthday party for our 4-year-old, for Fiona. So we'd had a few of her friends round to the house, and just had the standard 4-year-old's birthday party, bouncy castle birthday cake. We had a wonderful day, and that evening, we count ourselves really lucky, because that evening we had hours and hours of just the four of us playing on the bouncy castle, just being silly and, with the girls. It was a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
And that night we count ourselves incredibly lucky that we both took the girls to bed that night. And we both, I changed Eleanor that night. And I used to do this silly thing with her where I'd take her trousers off and drop her trousers on her head, and she used to giggle. And,
Okay.
she was doing that. She was giggling. And Di then sat on the beanbag in their room with one girl on each knee, and read them a story. And the girls tottered off to bed next to each other. They shared a room. Their beds were 2 feet apart. And Eleanor tottered off, put herself into bed. And that was that. And, she was giggling. She was happy. We had no cause for concern at all. So the following morning, I was downstairs in the kitchen making my eggs for breakfast, and Di had gone in to get the girls up, and that was obviously when she found Eleanor, and I can't ever begin to imagine what that was like for Di. It's every parent's worst nightmare to essentially look at their child and go, "Oh, hang on, is she breathing?" And then to put a hand on her and turn her over and find out that she's passed away.
Yeah.
And you go through all the emotions of, I wish I'd taken that for Di, but obviously I can't. So yeah, I mean, Di shouted, and there's parts of that morning that are completely indelible and will never go away from our memories. But I remember running into the room, and obviously our 4-year-old Fiona was sat there on the bed next to Eleanor, and
Oh gosh.
What goes through your brain at that point, I can't even begin to compute. But just to get Fiona out of the room to start with, and obviously the immense, immense amount of grief that hits you in that moment. Disbelief. Brutal. Brutal is not the right word at all, but every parent's worst nightmare, I suppose.
Firstly, I'm so grateful. Thank you for describing that day. And yeah, I cannot begin to imagine, like you say, that sense of grief in the moment and the disbelief, and Di in that moment, you in that moment as well, but also your daughter as well. And as a family, I've seen a little bit of your journey over the last year, and it's one of the things I'm so impressed by the way that you are a real unit as a family. That's the impression I get.
No, in many ways it's been adhesive to the three of us, and Fiona, our 4-year-old, has been. There's lots of pieces of the jigsaw puzzle for us as a family and for us as individuals to get through this. Fiona has been one of the biggest pieces of that jigsaw puzzle, because even, in those early days, you are forced to get out of bed. You are forced to look after this 4-year-old. You are forced to try and make sure that her life stays as normal as possible. And a 4-year-old computes these things very differently to how you and I would do.
Yeah.
There's there is humour to be had, and there was humour to be had right from the start. A week after Eleanor died, Fiona said to me, "Daddy, because Eleanor's dead, can I have her birthday party?" And,
Mm.
That sentence is so tragic, but
Yeah.
you have to laugh at it. You have to, just the way a 4-year-old's brain works.
Yeah.
And there's been various things that she's come out with and said, and has, you have to laugh at it. And as I said, the need to make life as normal as possible for her has been instrumental in us getting through. And she's been absolutely amazing. She does have her moments, and we're very aware that she will keep reprocessing the memories of that day and the memories of her baby sister, as she called her,
Yeah.
as she grows older. But yeah, I mean, Fiona just forces us to be silly, to be happy, to get out and do stuff on a daily
Mm.
basis. And yeah, has been a crucial part of us navigating this, I guess.
Mm. Tell us a little more about Eleanor. What was she like?
So I'm not sure we've mentioned she was 2 weeks off her second birthday. So she was getting to that stage where her personality was starting to come out. She was quite cheeky. She was starting to talk a little bit.
Okay.
She'd gone through the milestones of starting to walk. She was a very tactile sort of a child. She loved hugs, and she loved being attached to you. Which I kind of joke she was the only one in the family that I'd get a hug from, because
Yeah.
Di and Fiona aren't really like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, she'd just love to be with you, and love to be sort of attached to you. So yeah, and she was wonderful. She always had a smile on her face. She was so different to Fiona. She was, I think, quite coordinated, and probably quite sporty in a way in comparison to Fiona. But yeah, she was just, like any wonderful, happy little 2-year-old, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you have mentioned that, and you mentioned in Eleanor's eulogy actually that you promised her a life well lived, which is a phrase that I really like. What does that promise mean to you now, day to day, and how do you envisage that manifesting itself?
Yeah, I did. I stood in church and promised her that I would make the best out of this life, so that we're not a particularly religious family, but I do like to think that one day we'll be reunited, and in a funny way, it kind of it makes me not worried about when the end of my life comes, because that desire to be with her is colossal. But yeah, it's it brings into focus that we only get one shot at this life, and I I've always been a sort of a want to make the most of life mentality anyway, but by God, something like this happening to your family doesn't half spur you on to go, yeah, actually what's
Yeah,
important in my life, and yeah, and what am I going to make of it? And yeah, I guess it would have been very easy for Di and I to have spiraled when this happened to us.
absolutely.
Into I don't know, depression, alcoholism, whatever it may be.
Yep.
I can fully see why that would happen to you, and I can see why. I think 80% of people who lose a child end up splitting up, and I can fully see that as well.
Yeah.
Um, but just that you need to have a great big dollop of self determination to get through this. We've had a lot of counselling, which is something that I've never had before, or really understood before. But by God, it has helped us as a couple
Good.
massively. And yeah, and there is so much out there in life that I just want to make the most of it. I want to be here for as long as possible. I want to be as healthy as I can. And yeah, I just want to make the most of life, and have joy and have fun, and have happiness in life. It I can look back to the early days and think, I remember thinking that having joy and happiness in my life is just impossible now. And it's 9 months on, joy and happiness is absolutely possible. And we have had a lot of joy and happiness over the last 9 months. But you just have to live with live with this grief in the background, I think. Yeah.
How did other people react once you started to tell people, once you were sharing that news? Perhaps your local community, perhaps the wider farming community, um, and yeah, how did you feel? Yeah, in terms of the support during that time. Just interested in how you felt that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Di saying actually that if there is a God, then he's set us up with an amazing network of friends and family to support us. When this bomb goes off in our life, and yeah, the network of our friends and family, both locally and around the country, was the support from them was unbelievable. One of Di's friends was working in a London hospital that morning and literally dropped everything. Walked out of the hospital, got on a train, and came straight to us. And she was amazing. On that first day, and I mean the countless people who came and visited, and came and supported in any way they can, was just unbelievable. And people turned up with food, with supplies, just a shoulder to cry on. It's I'm sure Jake Freestone won't mind me mentioning when he turned up. I think it was probably 2 days after Eleanor had died, and he basically said, I knew everyone would have brought you flowers and food and things. I haven't brought any of that. I brought my running trainers. Come on, we're going for a run.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that, because I really didn't feel like going for a run, but my God, it did me good.
Yeah.
And I'm a runner. I've done a lot of running anyway, but by God, it did me good. And yeah, I'll always remember him for that. And then there was the local community support as well. So for Eleanor's funeral, basically a load of the boomers, as we call them, the boomer generation, basically got together and said, we'll sort all the refreshments out for the wake. And I mean, yeah, it was the most humbling thing ever to walk into the wake and see the spread that the local community had put on for us that day. I think there were 170 odd people there, and there was enough food and more for everyone. It was unbelievable and incredibly humbling, and yeah, something that we're incredibly grateful for. So yeah, no, we're very lucky in terms of the friends and family support we've had.
Mhm. You said earlier on in the interview that before before Eleanor's death, you hadn't really had to deal with grief before. Um, so, what have you learned about your approach to grief? If you're okay to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've learned that my approach to grief is very different to Di's, and that everyone grieves in their own unique way, and you go through phases of it. You go through in the early days, there's the guilt, of, as a parent, what did I miss? What could I have done differently? And, I think I now understand that that's something that everyone will go through with grief. What could we have done differently? Even if it's old Auntie Maggie who's died, it's sort of, oh, why didn't I go around and see her that day or whatever? And it's, it's the same. It's the same with all grief. I think understanding that we grieve in different ways has been the most crucial point of this.
Yeah.
And I can remember getting home after 12 weeks and consoling Di, and every single day for 12 weeks I'd come home and consoled her, and I'd been having to sort of force myself through the daily grind of work and everything, and almost snap myself out of it, I suppose. And I would get frustrated that I couldn't help Di, that I couldn't fix her. And actually, it was a counsellor who said to me, "Stop trying to fix Di. She's got to be responsible for herself. You've got to be responsible for yourself. And once you help yourselves individually, then you will become more cohesive as a couple, because naturally you're healing yourselves." And that was an incredibly valuable piece of information for us. One of the most valuable pieces of information, I think. But I mean, yeah, look, grief it's unpredictable. Some days you wake up and you've no idea why, but you just have an awful day, and
Yeah,
you'll be
absolutely.
in tears for, you don't really know why. Certain things will trigger you. For me, if I hear a baby crying now, I don't know, it just floors me.
Yeah, no,
And
understandably.
it's entirely unpredictable. And yeah, for me, it doesn't go away. It will never go away. It's always there in the background. But yeah, as I said before, we've got one shot at this life, and you've got to make the most of it, just with something a bit different in the background.
Yeah. I mean, an active choice that you made, as you've already described, was to see a counsellor, and that importance of talking, I suppose. How have you found that? Because I mean, this is we're talking about your very, very specific experience today, but often when you talk about other forms of grief, people have been through other things as well, and even around to depression and other mental health struggles as well. So often, this importance of talking comes up. So I'm just again interested in this aspect for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crucial. I mean, I can remember. Well, I mean, I'd finished a job of 10 years and wanted to walk out of that farm with my head held as high as I possibly could, in terms of leaving things in as
Yeah.
good a state as I possibly could. And I then walked into, a new job, obviously with the big pressure of, performing with a chunky new job, I suppose. And so I'd probably done the classic male thing of, right, head down, attack life, and
Yeah.
not really come up for air. And I then did get to a point where I was desperate. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't know what was wrong. Well, I did know what was wrong, but I didn't know what to do. And A lot of the charity help doesn't really start until 6 months after the child has passed away. So, that 6 months is a long time, really. And I needed help, and I knew I needed help, and I reached out to and booked myself in with a counsellor, and they cancelled on me last minute. And I reached out to another counsellor, and they also
Oh,
cancelled.
really?
And I gave up, and thankfully Di, she managed to find the counsellor literally 10 minutes up the road from here, and got me booked in with her, and she was amazing. She basically sat there with a box of tissues and said, I bet the others have cancelled because they don't like grief, and especially child bereavement. I've got my box of tissues here. We'll have a cry. I don't care if you see me cry, sort of an attitude. And I thought, great, I like you. And she was amazing. She had a bit of grey hair, so she's been there and done a lot. And yeah, we ended up going to her as a couple as well, and she's been absolutely invaluable. Just to be able to talk and to process and to understand, and even things like loud noises used to set me off, and it's a really weird thing. You can't really explain it, but it basically, if there was a big noise or a shout or something like that, it basically used to make me feel the way that I felt that morning when Di shouted to me.
Yeah.
And actually helping me get over that as well, which, touch wood, she now has done fairly well, has been another piece of the jigsaw puzzle to our recovery. So yeah, and then we've also had counselling from Child Bereavement UK. And I mean, clearly, as the name suggests, they are the experts in this. And again, I think we've now had 3 sessions with them as a couple, and just in terms of them, I suppose validating how you're feeling, and helping you understand how you feel, and also helping you as a couple talk to each other, have been absolutely crucial, have been amazing, and yeah, we've got an awful lot to thank Child Bereavement for. They've been amazing.
And they are one of the charities that you are now raising money for through your incredible challenges. So as I mentioned in the introduction, Di has just completed last month in September, completed a 330-mile cycle to Paris, from London to Paris. What was that experience like for her? Obviously, she's not here to describe it herself, but that might be slightly different. But how did it feel watching her do that and go through the training process? You've been going through your own training process for your own challenge, but what has it been like watching Di do her challenge?
Yeah, it's been, firstly, an immense amount of pride, just to see her grabbing the bull by the horns and, channeling her grief, I guess, into something positive. So yeah, she first and foremost, she would, if she was here, she would correct you. I think it was 350 miles in the end.
Oh, 350 miles. Sorry, Di.
They did a long route. When I was tracking them to Paris, I was thinking, well, you're going the wrong way, because they did a bit of a dog leg to make it that long. But she said, she had romantic ideas of, maybe cycling till 3:00 and arriving at a nice sunny French chateau and sitting there,
of course,
and drinking champagne for the evening. But in reality, it was get up at 7 a.m., get on the bike, pedal through hail and rain and French traffic, cycling till sort of 7:00 at night, and so it was brutally hard, I think, and it was brutally hard physically and also mentally. So I think there was a group of maybe 50 of them that did it together. but I think because it was so hard, it was therefore all the more rewarding for her. And again, an amazing experience, an amazing sense of camaraderie, because I think a lot of the other people on the ride had a story of their own, whether it be grief, bereavement, or cancer, or something like that. There's a lot of sort of inspiring stories again of people who have perhaps been through something pretty awful in life and have channeled it into something really positive. So yeah, it was a great experience for her. Has been brilliant for her mental health, I think. And she was never a cyclist before this at all. And it's kind of it's given her a new hobby, which is great. So yeah, really positive experience for her.
We'll talk about your challenge next, but before then, can you just take me back to when you were thinking about doing these challenges in the first place, and deciding, you know what, this is what we're going to do? When was that? And just talk me through that process.
Yeah, sure. I think it'd kind of been in the back of our minds a bit that it would be good to do something. And then a friend of mine rang me up one day and basically said, we would all, as in a friendship group of mine, would like to do something in Eleanor's memory. Do you want to be involved or not? And he probably now regrets mentioning it because I said, yes, I absolutely want to be involved in it, and I want to do something. And I guess I've been ever since I met Di, to be honest, I've been a bit of a runner, and I've done a few silly challenges in the past, and I wanted to do something personal, and so got the OS maps out and plotted a route between our new home and where Eleanor is buried, in Boningale, and it was about 80 miles, and I thought, yeah, that's doable. Right, let's do that.
Amazing.
So the challenge was set.
Yeah, and this is no mean feat. I mean, it's like doing 3 marathons back to back, which is quite incredible. How have you been preparing physically and mentally for it? It's been a lot of training going on.
Yeah, there's been a lot of training going on. So yeah, I mean, part of the battle is knowing the route. So a lot of my training I've done on the route, and Di has sort of provided backup for that. So we have a checkpoint every 10 miles on the actual event. So learning the route, learning where those checkpoints are going to be. We've done a lot of that, and doing a lot of sort of big long runs. So 30 miles plus, and then finishing that in the evening, going to bed, and then getting up the following day and doing another big run on top of that, and just trying to get as much time on my feet, as many miles in my legs as possible. So, and then last weekend I did a 360 event, as it's called, at Cornbury, just up the road, which is basically a 10k lap, and you've got see how many laps you can do.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so I was slightly disappointed. I did 31 miles that day, but I had an infection in my leg the week before and been on antibiotics. So it probably wasn't the best lead up to it. But anyway, so yeah, I was sort of, what are we now? 2.5 weeks out. So I've kind of done the biggest, most brutal training runs, I suppose. So yeah, sort of tapering down now mileage wise until the big event. So yeah, keeping myself steady enough is going to be part of the challenge, not going out too fast.
When this comes out, so this is coming out on Monday, it will be a little under 2 weeks, won't it, until it's happening? So,
yeah, and getting enough food on board throughout the event is pretty crucial as well. So learning what is appetizing, when you're, when you're 30 or 40 miles in, and you probably feel a bit nauseous and all the rest of it.
I'm guessing so.
But yeah, you've got to eat. So yeah, it's going to be a hell of a challenge. We're leaving home at about 3 p.m. Because I hope it will take us between 20 and 24 hours. And I want to be able to arrive in daylight. So that will mean that we'll arrive at hopefully between 11 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's my thinking behind it.
Okay. Are there many of you doing the whole thing, because you have various runners are joining you for stretches?
Yeah, so various runners joining me for sort of 10-mile segments. I've then got, I think there's 4 others who are going to do the whole thing with me, or planning on doing the whole thing with me. However, some of them are cheating and going on bikes. Yeah, so but I mean, it'll still be a hell of a challenge for them as well, to be honest. But
For sure.
yeah, but now I've got a great support group who are coming to join me for segments, and they range from very, very good, very, very old friends to work colleagues. Even my boss and his family are they're joining for a segment, which is incredible. And then even mum, mum is, she's, well, I'll be polite and say she's well into being a pensioner. Mum and two aunties they're walking the first 10 miles. They want to have a part of it. So yeah, in a way, I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of apprehension there, but yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, understandably. Well, best of luck from me, and I can't think I can speak on behalf of all the listeners to say we are all behind you. Best of luck. You are raising funds for several charities, and listeners, I'm going to give the plug again. Please click the link in the show notes, and if you can, any donation would be really appreciated. But can you tell us a little bit about those charities and why they're meaningful to you, and why they why they're part of Eleanor's challenge?
Sure. Yeah. So I suppose we'll run through, and from the start, the Air Ambulance. They're a charity that I guess I've always supported in the past anyway, because I know, and we probably all know in the farming community, too many people who've been picked up by the Air Ambulance, and it was an Air Ambulance crew who were first on scene the morning Eleanor died. The Air Ambulance base was just up the road from us, so they arrived in a car, not in a helicopter, and they were amazing. 3 of them turned up, and one of them had the foresight to stay downstairs with Fiona, our daughter, and play with her and get her toys out and play with her. And I'm forever grateful to him for doing that, because anything that made that day less traumatic for Fiona, I am incredibly grateful for. We are incredibly grateful for. So yeah, the Air Ambulance crew who turned up were amazing. The fact they had the foresight to do that as well, holds a very special place in my heart. And I'm actually going to meet the crew. I'm not quite sure when, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm actually going to go meet the crew again.
Oh, okay.
It's funny how it's part of, I don't know, the grieving process for me, I guess, and I know it'll be an incredibly emotional day going to meet them, but it's something that I want to do, and they've said they'll do it. So Air Ambulance, one of the charities. Two Wish, the next one. So Two Wish they're originally a Welsh child bereavement charity who'd spread into Shropshire, and we had to go to hospital with Eleanor that morning, and they did initial checks and things on her. And Two Wish were there to, they provided us with a memory box that morning, which has a clay footprint in it and a lock of Eleanor's hair, and And they've also then provided sort of complementary therapies, which Di has made the most of. To which they do an awful lot. They were on the phone for us a lot in the early days, and really helped us then. They have a cottage in Wales that bereaved parents can go to. And they're just a small charity, but a fantastic charity in helping parents in in the worst possible circumstances. So we want to give back to them. It's a bit the same with Child Bereavement UK. As I said earlier, they've been invaluable with the counselling that they've been giving, and the ongoing counselling that they've given us. So again, that's another really valuable charity for us, and just to have that sense of fulfillment that hopefully what we're doing will help parents in the future who are unfortunately going to go through the same thing that we've been through. The sense of fulfillment to hopefully be able to help future parents is great for us, I think, and is quite healing for us. We then have FCN, so I would imagine most people listening to this will be aware of who the Farm Community Network are, but FCN are actually going to set something up in Eleanor's name, which will signpost parents to relevant counsellors and to the support that's out there, because at present FCN don't really have anything like that, and they want to put something in place so that future bereaved parents in the farming community will have sort of good access to help and support, and hopefully also to train up some of the FCN volunteers in child bereavement as well. So again, hopefully doing something really positive with FCN to help future families, specifically in the farming community.
That's fantastic.
And then the final one is St Chad's Church in Boningale, and that is Eleanor's final resting place. It's the church that we got married in. It's a tiny little church in the hamlet of Boningale, and clearly it's a fairly special place for us anyway. And now that it is the final resting place for Eleanor, anything we can do to preserve that church and ensure it's there for generations to come is what we want to do. So that's our final charity.
Excellent. Thank you so much for telling us about all of those. The plug again, once again, listeners, please hit the link in the show notes and give what you can to this incredible challenge that both Michael and Di are undertaking. We are running out of time, so I'm going to move to our final questions. I'm going to ask you the last two questions I ask everyone on the show, but I wonder, normally, of course, we talk about farming, but I wondered just because of what we've been talking about today and with Eleanor in mind as well, I wonder if, Michael, you can give me your message for the public and your message for farmers, but with Eleanor in mind, your message for the public, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be one message for all, really, because it's going to be the same message, and that is that life is too short, and you do not know what's around the corner, and you've got one chance to be here. Live life to the full. Hold your head high and know that you've done the best that you can with the life that you've been given, the life that you've been blessed with. Hold your children close, hold your loved ones close, because
it's okay. You've done so well. You've done so well.
You don't know when they're not going to be there anymore. Yeah. So I can't. That message goes to all. I can't put that you can't separate that out for farmers. That's a message for all, really. Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you coming on to tell us about your experiences from this year. Tell us about Eleanor, and for all of us, we want her memory to live on. We are all behind you for your challenge that you're going to be undertaking very soon. And yeah, we're all just so impressed with Di and everything that she's done recently as well. Yeah, we're all here to support you. And thank you so much for coming on Meet the Farmers.
Not at all, but no, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the the exposure. Hopefully, this will give, and if anyone out there is listening to this and does donate, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. And there's, if anyone's listening who has already donated, we can't thank you enough. It's the support we've received on there so far has been unbelievable. So thank you.
That is it for today. We'll leave it there. Once again, a massive thank you to my guest, Michael Kavanagh, for coming on. And thank you also for listening. Once again, I'm going to do it once again. If you'd like to support Michael and Di with their challenges, see that link to GiveWheel, their GiveWheel page in the show notes, or you can search for the Eleanor Challenge GiveWheel to find it. Next time, I will have another special episode for you, and we'll be announcing something very new for the podcast. Watch this space. But for now, I'm Ben Eagle. This has been a very special episode of Meet the Farmers, and thank you very much for listening.